Hello friends. So today we will discuss about National Clean Air Program and its relationship with transport sector. As you know, this course basically relates to sustainable aspects, whether it is environmental, economic, social and all kind. So in terms of air quality at the national level, what is the contribution of transport sector and how it is figured in national policy. So, this is one very important policy which is known as National Clean Air Program, which India has launched to clean the air, because as you know the air pollution is causing several health effects as well as environmental impacts. So, to reduce those impacts and to fulfill the demand of the public to have this basic right, this is related to human right, you can say that we should have the clean environment, and clean environment means clean water, clean air and whatever environmental components which really help us to live healthy life, that should be clean. So, in that context the government of India has launched one very ambitious program which is known as National Clean Air Program or NCAP. Okay. So, today we will discuss about like what is the need of the NCAP. Okay. This is the contents of today's lecture, that the need of the NCAP and then what is the impact of poor air quality on human health, as you know, but we will just touch it so that we can really make this case, and what are the objectives and the important features of this program in overall sense, and the targeted cities which are to be kind of mitigation measures have to be implemented in those particular cities, so that their air quality, ambient air quality can be improved, and what are the implementation agencies of this particular program. Then different kind of mitigation measures which are needed for improvement of transport sector related pollution issues, because there are several sectors like industrial, domestic, power plants, agriculture and many others, but within that that kitty of sectors, the transportation sector we will focus, because this is the course on sustainable transportation systems. Then what are the action plans in different cities? So, as a case we will take two cases, one of Lucknow and another one of Delhi, and after that we will conclude this, so that you can get an overview of this NCAP program and its impact or possible impact on the ambient air quality of national level in urban areas. So, as you know, this poor air quality has negative impacts on human health as well as the environment. So, that is the need, because especially of course different air pollutants have different health impacts, but particularly this program is focusing on particulate matter, because you have to prioritize. We have limited resources, so we have to first prioritize. So, based on the science and this science based policy, this has been determined that the impact of particulate matter, small particles like PM10, PM2.5, you know the difference between PM10 and PM2.5, I hope. Like PM10, it is also known as RSPM, respirable suspended particulate matter, which can be respirated, okay? Because larger coarser particles beyond PM10 like PM20 or PM25, those can be easily trapped in the nostrils, that mechanism we have, okay, but small particles can be inhaled. So, PM10 is basically those particulate matter which is equal to or less than 10 micrometer. Similarly, PM2.5, that means the particle size is equal to 2.5 micrometer or less than that. So, you can say that PM2.5 is also part of PM10, yes, but PM2.5 does not include the PM10. So, different categories have been classified depending upon their health impacts. So, particular focus is on basically PM2.5 and PM10. So, these are the particulate matters which are of major challenge in the sense, because their impact on air quality is tremendous, because they are exceeding the prescribed limits. Okay. And then if you see this Indo-Gangetic plain where densely populated areas are there, and cities have polluted air or very poor air quality. The reason is because in the north Himalayan region is there, so that prevents the airflow across this plain. So, this acts like a kind of you can say belly, and air movement at the larger scale becomes like stagnation in that particular area. So, if some transportation of pollutants are there from those upwind side kind of sources, then the pollution can be trapped especially in winter. Okay. Otherwise, in summer there are air movements, and lot of boundary layer is available, height of boundary layer is quite significant. So, dilution happens, but in winter, because this boundary layer becomes very low, and this mass is of air is very much polluted, and sometimes inversion also happens. Inversion means the vertical movement of the dispersion is very much restricted. Okay, you know that these SOx like SO2 means oxides of sulfur, then NOx, that is the oxides of nitrogen, and ozone. Okay, they are of course within the prescribed limit. So, they are also criteria pollutants, but they are not the focus of this particular study. We will focus on only particulate matter. Then in this NCAP, especially the target is some cities, and when we want to improve something, then we should have some baseline data. So, in this case particularly the 2017 has been the base year. So, whatever air quality is there in 2017, that will be the datum or basis to compare that how much we want to reduce. So, in comparison to those levels which are of 2017, so the goal is that 20 to 30% concentration should be reduced by 2024. So, within 7 years, but the implementation is from 2019. So, you can say within 5 years. And then objectives, this 5-year plan starting from 2019, and it can be extended up to 20 to 25 years. Every 5 year it can be reviewed, and what are the improvements which are taking place, some lessons can be learned, some changes may be made in policy as well as program related aspects. But the basically implementation is of different mitigation measures, so that emissions are reduced and then air quality is improved. Okay. And it is also part like public awareness and the capacity building, so that the urban local bodies should have people who can really monitor the air quality, they can analyze, and then there are collaborations with the higher educational institute like IITs, NITs, or research labs like NEERI, or other good universities. So, their resources have to be tapped. Also Central Pollution Control Board and State Pollution Control Board. So, you can say this is the combined efforts of pollution control boards of the central level as well as state level, and then educational institutes and urban local bodies, and the public participation is expected, of course. So, if we want to have this overview of National Clean Air Program or NCAP, then this figure shows all the aspects, like how many cities. Initially the 100 polluted cities were targeted there. After that number was increased to 102 and then 122. So, other cities were also clubbed, so that their air quality could also be improved, and different aspects like indoor air pollution as well as outdoor monitoring stations, plus source apportionment studies, and the inventory setup of different cities at the local as well as national level, and then the public participation and information centers establishment for analysis of the monitor data, modeling, monitoring, everything is there. Okay. That makes this complete program of the NCAP. Well, when we talk about this these sector wise contribution in pollutants of PM10 and PM2.5 at the national level, then different studies give little bit different figures, but overall range is similar, like CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board's study of 2010. They gave that these vehicles contribute around 9 to 20%, okay, and then the road dust contribution is from 14 to let us say 29%. So, the overall you can say it is around up to 50%. Okay. So, this contribution is there, plus IIT Kanpur's study of 2015, that also give different contribution scenarios, like PM10 in winter and summer. Winter around 20% and summer only 6%, the reason because of pollution loading is also dependent upon boundary layer and other activities. And the soil and road, this resuspension of the dust happens. So, PM10 like 14 to 26%, okay, winter and summer. So, you can say that in summer these vehicles contribute less, and this soil and resuspension of dust is more, 26% you can say. So, around 32% total. Here again around 33%, but in winter vehicles contribution is more and the resuspension of dust is less in comparison. So, the weather also plays role. Similarly, for PM 2.5, if you want to see from winter to summer, so vehicular contribution is around 25% and in summer 8.5%. This 25% is for winter and summer 8.5. Whereas this resuspension of the dust is 4.3% and 27% if we compare winter and summer for PM 2.5. So, that way their contribution can be linked with the season as well as in comparison to other sectors. Okay. And this figure shows the distribution of 120 non-attainment cities. That means non-attainment means the prescribed limits are being exceeded by the air quality concentration, ambient air quality concentration, which has been monitored by different stations and the data have been processed, and then average value has been compared with the prescribed limits. So, these are the 122 cities which are staggered in all around the India. Then the list of targeted cities, you can see in different states different number of cities are there. For example, in Andhra Pradesh this Anantapur is there, then Chittoor, okay, and then Guntur and this Nellore, okay, you can see, then Vijayawada. So, Visakhapatnam, all these cities are non-attainment cities, means these cities have to be studied and some mitigation measures have to be implemented so that their air quality can be improved. Similarly, in Assam, Guwahati, okay, Silchar, and UTs are also union territories like Chandigarh is also there, okay, Delhi is also there, which is kind of a state as well as UT you can say. Now state it is, earlier it was UT. Jammu and Kashmir, so Srinagar and Jammu both cities are there. In Jharkhand, Dhanbad is there because of pollution sources, mines, etc., those activities. Similarly, other states you can see Madhya Pradesh, Bhopal, Gwalior, Indore, okay, Ujjain, all those cities are included. In Maharashtra, a number of cities are there. So, you can say because of different activities like in those states where lot of industrial activities are there, then it is but obvious that the pollution levels becomes higher and the air quality becomes very poor. So, in Maharashtra, Akola, Amravati, Aurangabad, okay, and then Chandrapur, Nagpur, Mumbai, all these cities are included as non-attainment cities. Then Nagaland is there, Odisha, Punjab, Rajasthan, every state is there, and certain number of cities which are not meeting the prescribed limits of PM10 and PM 2.5, they have been included in the city. Okay, then you can see this list of targeted cities for other states like Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh. Okay, in Uttar Pradesh again Gajrola, Ghaziabad, Jhansi, Kanpur, Khurja, all these cities including Lucknow. We will have the case study of Lucknow here today. Then West Bengal, so Durgapur and Howrah, Kolkata, all those cities are there in these non-attainment cities list. If you compare this sector wise action plan for targeted states or cities, so you can see like this is the transportation related icon and this industry related and then waste burning. So, you can see like in Odisha this transport related is quite significant. Okay. Some cities are like Delhi. So, some cities are more into transportation sector because of sheer number of vehicle population is much more in those particular cities, right. So, those have been included and accordingly those mitigation measures are to be adopted. So, other cities are also there in this, and then local bodies have to implement those NCAP because of this sector wise implementation is there, and our focus today is more on transportation sector you can say. So, if we see the distribution of sector wise action plans under this NCAP, So, around 51% of action plans are related to transportation. So, it is a very significant number. You can say around 50%, more than 50% is related to transportation sector, because road emissions, then the road dust as well as resuspension of dust, all those kind of things are there. So, the transportation and road dust in total they contribute around 51%. Here you can see waste management only 11%, domestic cooking only 2%, right. Construction activities only 8%, the road dust management 13%, okay, and all transport 38%. So, total around 51% is there. This you can, this big part of this pie is related to transportation sector. Okay, when we talk about the mitigation measures under NCAP and especially focused on transportation sector. So, now focus is on that we should shift towards renewable energy resources, like rather than fossil fuel based transportation sector, we should shift towards renewable, like we can charge the battery, that means electric vehicles. So, we can charge those batteries with electricity produced from renewable resources. Otherwise, even if fossil fuel based power plants are there for producing electricity, at least local level emissions will be significantly reduced. Okay. Even if total emissions are reduced, not reduced, the local level emissions will be reduced and local air quality will improve. So, the focus or emphasis on electric or clean energy based vehicles for public transportation, right, and then established of infrastructure which are needed for electric vehicles, so that people feel motivated. If we do not have number of infrastructure like charging stations etc., then people feel little discouraged, otherwise they have to charge at their place. If we have very good infrastructure, then people will buy more number of electric vehicles. Then those expressways and bypass and peripheral roads, so that heavy traffics just go without entering to the city. So, those kind of infrastructure are like in Delhi, you might have seen this peripheral road network is there. So, now heavy vehicles do not go inside the city, they just want to go from one state to another, they just take the round of the Delhi and they go to their destination straight away. Then better parking facilities, okay, using multi-level parking to reduce congestion, otherwise people park, they have tendency to park on the roads. So, if we have multi-level parking etc., at particular locations and we prohibit parking on the road, then also the smooth flow of the traffic can be ensured or achieved. Similarly, like this improvement in bicycling and pedestrian related infrastructure and facilities, so that people feel more motivated for non motorized kind of transportation means. Okay. Then retrofitting of diesel vehicles, because diesel vehicles are known as polluting vehicles. With particulate matter or filters, if we want to reduce the particulate matter, then those particulate filters we have to really retrofit in those vehicles. Then promotion of bioethanol can be there in place of diesel etc., because it is a cleaner fuel in comparison to those diesel and petrol vehicles, because this octane number is high. So, with the same amount of the fuel more energy is produced, plus toxic emissions are less in comparison to those other fuels, you can say. Then we can also reduce this traffic congestion by minimizing these kind of these movements in a particular direction. So, widening of roads are there, then other means, other policies can be implemented, so that congestion is reduced and more smooth flow is there. Okay. Now, you can see like maintenance of forest cover, urban forest especially, that means so that absorption of pollution can be easily there, plus these urban forests act as the lungs of the city, because they absorb pollution as well as carbon dioxide, they sink and then they produce oxygen. So, they are known as the lungs. So, green buffers can be created within different parts of the cities. Then these water fountains can be implemented at several places where this dust emissions, this resuspension of dust is much more in those locations basically, so that dust can be settled down easily. And then wall to wall pavements can also be there, so that less amount of dust is there for resuspension. Then you can also have metallic roads, black topping, so that this road is smooth and properly maintained. Otherwise potholes and then the damaged roads also gives more emissions, because our driving is not smooth, we have to apply brakes several times, and that cause lot of more emissions. Now we want to discuss about like Lucknow city NCAP action plan. What kind of action plan is there for Lucknow city, so that this NCAP related targets can be achieved, and we will focus again of different those action plans, especially this transportation, you can say. Here you see this, if you see this contribution, okay, sector wise contribution. So again this is the road dust, which is around 87%. So resuspension of the dust from the road is the predominating source. So if we can capture this, lot of particulate matter can easily be removed from the air. So 87% around. Then vehicle is, and this vehicular emission is there around like 5%. Okay. So 87 plus 5, 92%. So around 92% is basically from transportation related activities, whether road and straightway from the vehicle. So this is the very important sector in case of Lucknow. So whatever measures if you want to implement, let us target this sector, so that achievements and the improvements can easily be visible after some time. Air quality monitoring is there, like 7 locations manually and 1 location is automatic reading is there, and then data is analyzed. So PM10, PM 2.5, SO2, NO2 and other parameters are measured by these monitoring stations. Okay. And if you want to see these 7 monitoring stations and their different years readings for PM10, so like in 2013 it was 185, okay, 2014 171, little bit reduction, 2015 168, more reduction, then again increase because of several reasons. Air quality can be deteriorated not only from the source but also meteorological factors. So from 2016 the air quality is deteriorating quite because it is becoming like 217 or 315, 244, these are annual averages values, you can say. And this is for particular this Hazratganj related area monitoring station readings. Then if you see this this Talkatora industrial this monitoring station, so again you can see from 202 from 2013, now it is 229. So overall you can see that this air quality is deteriorating, means the concentration of PM10 is increasing in the air. So significant increment basically from 2018 from 2013 to 2018, if we compare, means in comparison to 2013, if we take the base year and if we compare with the air quality concentrations for 2018. So lot of gap is there, and within these 5 years air quality has deteriorated significantly in terms of PM10, you can say. Well, if we talk about this action plan from vehicular emission control, so there are long term action plan as well as short term action plans. So for short term you can say like you can have these extensive drives for polluting vehicles, you can target those vehicles so that strict compliance can be achieved. You can prevent parking vehicles in non designated areas, you can fine those people who are parking there. Okay. And then traffic movements and intelligent traffic system can be implemented, so that there is like some particular lane driving, so that there is no congestion. So those are kind of short term plans, but for long term if we want to talk, then you have to do many things, like you have to construct some peripheral road around the city, so that heavy traffic does not come to the city. Okay. Then multi-level parking, so that people are not parking on the roadside, right. And then public transportation, more this shift of the public from the privately owned these 2-wheelers or 4-wheelers like car to public transportation system, that kind of thing should be there. Well, again like this suspension of road dust is there. So, again short term and long term plan can be there. Short term, like you can say that these potholes, free roads should be there. So, free flow can be there, and then this metal road should be properly maintained, so that there is no application of brakes quite frequently. Then for long term, you can say that forest cover can be increased. So, it should be at least 33%, okay, of the this as per the master plan. And then you can have these canals, nalas, side roads should be brick lined. It should not be only dusty, otherwise resuspension of dust can be there. Proper plantation can be there. So, those kind of long term plan can be for reducing the resuspension of the dust. If you talk about the case of Delhi, Delhi is always in news for poor air quality, especially when winter happens. Then there is lot of debate that this is local air pollution or it is coming from the outside, stubble burning, and those kind of issues are there. Okay, so when we talk about this national capital territory, basically Delhi and the area around this Delhi, then you can see that this winter season lot of news is there. As you can see, these are the news clips, and the lockdown period little bit improvement was there, of course, but these it report these kind of scenarios really gives us message that we should do something serious effort, so that air quality of Delhi can be improved. Because lot of population is there, and these health effects can be very tremendous if we do not address these issues for these kind of cities where so many people are living. If we talk about PM 2.5 2019-2020, so this stubble burning period and these peaks of these high spikes, you can say the concentration of PM 2.5 are almost within the same kind of period. So, there is this kind of common sense that relationship exists within this. Of course, both kind of publications can be there, but means most of the publications and researchers agree that of course contribution is there from the outside also, from nearby states. When we talk about again the comparison of PM 2.5, so the lockdown phase 25 March to 19 April, okay, you can see, and then this second 20 April to 3rd May. So, you can see one is reduction and one is little bit increase, this PM 2.5 concentration you can see 178 to 192, this December January to October November, okay, and this is the period where this February March and this reduction is there, okay, 29 to 20 monsoon and all those. Well, when we compare about sector wise contribution in air pollution of the Delhi, then you can see this this road dust, transportation, again we are focusing on those. So, transport and road dust, they contribute around 25 to 28% of overall pollution load. But open fires are also significant when we talk about this particular period. So, that should also be curtailed, and some programs must be there to reduce those kind of things. But in other periods this was not so much. So, maybe public awareness was there and some other means were implemented. When we talk about major factors that affect the air quality of Delhi, so as I said that there are lot of publications and studies, they say that stubble burning in nearby states of Punjab, Haryana and UP, they contribute to this pollution load in this mega city Delhi, because local pollution is also there, and this is also because transboundary pollution happens. As you know, air is not stagnated at a particular place unless some particular episode is there because of meteorological episodes. Otherwise, pollution transfers from one place to another one. Then wind directions, geography and atmospheric factors are also there, as I said, and sometimes this precipitation or rains which helps to improve the air quality, because this wet deposition happens. Well, when we talk about actions taken to improve air quality, as you know that public transportation, again this increasing capacity of the metro, so that its expansion can be there. So, most of the population should shift towards public transportation, whether these DTC buses, CNG based buses, as you know already CNG implementation has been there in Delhi, and metro is also taking lot of people. So, this is a good effort, and more and more people can be shifted towards this public transportation if its capacity can be enhanced. And also like non motorized transportation means like bicycle, pedestrian, if those facilities can be increased. So, again we can shift people. When we talk about this transit oriented development TOD. So, in that sense lot of integration happens for non motorized vehicles as well as means like bicycles or battery driven rickshaws, those kind of things are there, and people also tend to walk if distances are shorter. So, those facilities are to be enhanced or implemented. Then if we talk about more like like heavy diesel vehicles are there. So, if we can take them out of the road by certain age factor, certain years, then again we can reduce lot of those emissions. And e-rickshaw and this last mile connectivity through e-rickshaw can be taken care of, that would be really wonderful. Or D1 scheme was followed, but the results were debatable, means not so much encouraging, as earlier also we discussed that sometimes people they bought because if they had a very critical need for traveling, then they bought those old vehicles with odd or even number according to daily commutation. So, the purpose was defeated, you can say. Then smoke towers were also used, but again they are also, the cases are debatable. Water sprinkling, all those kind of things have been implemented basically, and this pilot study has been conducted to create this EV charging network, so that electric vehicles can be enhanced. So, in conclusion we can say that this ambient air quality of Indian urban areas is very poor, and there are like 122 cities which are non attainment cities. You can see what a big number it is. So, those cities need some intervention, technological as well as policy related, so that the emissions can be reduced from different sectors, and transportation sector is really very important sector if we consider in that sense. So, from fuel, from technology, from shifting people from privately owned vehicles to public transportation, all those things we have to do. So, this NCAP is aiming to improve the air quality of these major cities, and transportation sector has very important role to play in this achieving these NCAP goals. So, that is why NCAP action plans are including transportation sector in a big way. So, that was today's lecture related to how this transportation sector can really play critical role or important role or crucial role for enhancing these efforts to improve the air quality, urban air quality. And this NCAP program, which is the Pan India program, National Clean Air Program, to achieve the goals of NCAP, transportation sector is important, and we should give much more focus on this particular sector. So, this is all for today, and these are the references which you can go through to have additional information. So, thank you for your kind attention, and see you next time. Thanks again.